The rational actor demands rational reasons to be moral. The rational actor demands rational reasons to care for the sentience and well-being of others. And as an advocate of rational morality, that is what I attempt to provide. For too long, rationality and morality have been viewed as conflicting forces. Never before has a greater misconception plagued common consciousness. And what a dangerous misconception it is. When rationality and morality are forced into conflict, only one can be chosen. And I think I can guess which one the rational actor will be inclined to choose. The logical conclusion of this misconception is immorality. But let us all breathe a sigh of relief at the fact that this is indeed a misconception. Rationality imposes standards of moral conduct. Every rational actor has moral obligations. Caring for the well-being and sentience of others is not merely a moral imperative, it is a rational imperative. But how is this so? If rationality means anything, it means the logical following of premises from the basis of human reason towards a given conclusion. That basis of human reason is sentience, the inescapable overlords of pain and pleasure, the inherent and inescapable evil, and the inherent and inescapable good. The two sovereign masters, as Jeremy Bentham once called them. So how exactly does rationality justify a moral system? Actions represent universal justifications of their fundamental essence. A rational actor will not justify their own brutalization. A rational actor will not justify not caring for the sentience of others. Actions represent universal endorsements of their fundamental essence. A rational actor will not endorse their own mistreatment. A rational actor will not endorse not caring for the sentience of others. A rational actor will not normalize cruelty and brutality. A rational actor will not contribute to the creation of a cruel and brutal society. A rational actor does not want to live in a cruel and brutal society. Rational actors normalize things such as caring and compassion. A rational actor desires a kind and caring society, a society that values their sentience, and the rational actor's actions must reflect the pursuit of this rational goal. Rational actors normalize caring for the sentience of others. They do not normalize not caring. A rational actor will not act in a way the implications of which are their subjection to brutality. A rational actor will not act in a way the logical conclusion of which is their own cruel and brutal treatment. A rational actor will not act in a way that corrodes rationally desirable emotions such as empathy and compassion. Rationality imposes certain standards regarding our treatment of sentient beings. Morality can be rational. There is a rational basis for morality. Pain, pleasure, and human reason lead to certain rational moral imperatives. Rationality provides an entourage of reasons to take the sentience and well-being of other beings seriously. In refusing to consider the sentience and well-being of others, the individual normalizes, justifies, endorses, and implies others doing so. They normalize, justify, endorse, and imply others refusing to consider their own sentience. This is irrational. From this foundation, all moral imperatives necessarily follow. Caring for the well-being and sentience of others is a rational obligation. It necessarily accompanies rationality. Morality is a product of human reason, not a rejection of it, not a limitation on it. Some posit that it is in the rational self-interest of the slaver to enslave. As counterintuitive as it may seem, the exercise of human reason easily leads to the conclusion that it is never in the rational self-interest of the slaver to enslave. What is rational about justifying and endorsing cruel selfishness? What is rational about justifying and endorsing your own oppression and exploitation? Enslave another, and you have justified and endorsed your own slavery. If that is not irrational, I do not know what is. If the justification and endorsement of one's own enslavement does not qualify as an irrationality, then nothing does. What is rational about corroding empathy and compassion? What is rational about normalizing cruelty and brutality? What is rational about acting in a way the implication of which is your own sentience being disregarded? What is rational about acting in a way the logical conclusion of which is your own brutalization? What is rational about contributing to the ushering in of a cruel and brutal society and prevention of a kind and compassionate one? It is not rational for the slaver to enslave. The idea that such immoralities can be rational is both massively false and massively dangerous. The slaver is an irrational being. This echoes the momentous philosophical question: why should he whose joy is founded on suffering consider said suffering as his enemy? Said suffering will always be a far greater opponent of said joy than it will be an ally of it. What threatens joy if not the normalization of cruelty and barbarism? What threatens joy if not the corrosion of empathy and compassion? What threatens joy if not the justification and endorsement of brutality towards oneself? What threatens joy if not the implication of one's actions being one's own mistreatment? What threatens joy if not acting in a way the logical conclusion of which is one's own brutalization? What threatens joy if not the ushering in of a cruel and brutal society and the crushing of the rational goal of a kind and compassionate society? Suffering is no friend of the rational actor who desires joy. Suffering is the enemy, be it the suffering of oneself or the suffering of another. That is the rational truth, the reality that those who exercise reason will inevitably discover. There is nothing rational about justifying your own abuse and mistreatment. There is nothing rational about endorsing complete disregard for your sentience. There is nothing rational about normalizing cruelty and brutality. There is nothing rational about acting in a way the logical conclusion of which is your own brutalization. There is nothing rational about corroding empathy and compassion. There is nothing rational about creating a cruel and brutal society. Rational actors desire a kind and compassionate society, and their actions will reflect this rational goal. Morality and rationality are perfectly compatible. We would be most unwise to pretend rationality and morality are in conflict. This misconception is false, but not simply false. It is extremely dangerous. The logical conclusion of this conflict is that the rational actor will be amoral, and amorality breeds immorality. A rational actor cannot do certain things with due consideration of their capacity to suffer. Doing such things with awareness of such a capacity is anything but rational. It is nothing short of extreme irrationality. Following from due consideration of the basis of reason, that is one's capacity for pleasure and pain, no rational actor can proceed to justify their own brutalization, endorse disregard for their own sentience, normalize cruelty and barbarism, corrode empathy and compassion, and act in a way the logical conclusion of which is their own suffering. Rationality necessitates moral obligations to others. Obligations concerning both what we ought to do and ought to not do. Rationality necessitates the consideration of the sentience and well-being of others. Morality has a basis in rationality.